3 important steps on how to set boundaries. Step number 1 is before you even think of setting boundaries, you absolutely have to know about self-value. If you are somebody that helps everybody else and puts yourself last, you may not know your value. If you think that people matter more than you don't know your value. Your value is not based on what you do, how successful you are, how many kids you have or don't have, how many friends you have, how much money you have, how good of a parent you are. It has nothing to do with anything. You are valuable because you exist. The first step of learning self-value is every morning when you first wake up, when your brainwaves are in theta, which is like a hypnosis state, just the first few minutes of waking up, you're going to say to yourself, I matter, my feelings matter. I matter, my feelings matter. Just repeat that every morning. You don't know your value, you won't believe it at first, but your subconscious knows the truth. So if you keep practicing it, it's going to come into your awareness. Once you practice step number 1 for a couple weeks or even a couple of months, step number 2, you need to actually know what your boundaries are. What do you like? What do you dislike? You're going to grab a paper and a pen and write 2 lines. One is going to say what you don't want, and one is what you want. And then you're going to write a list of maybe 3 to 4 people. And the first person on that list is going to be you. For example, the first list is what I don't want from myself. Let's say I want to stop feeling guilty. Now, what is the opposite of feeling guilty? Forgiving myself. So what do I want from myself is to forgive myself. Another example, what I don't want from myself is to be self-critical. So what I do want is to validate myself, to speak to myself kindly. Now, the other people on the list are usually the people that are closest to us and the people that we have the hardest time setting boundaries with. Don't tell anybody about this boundary list. Keep it to yourself because you're just learning about what you need and what you don't need. You don't need to share that with anybody right away. This is just a personal exercise. So what do you not want from your mom or from your dad? And what do you do want? What's the opposite of that? Even though you didn't tell anybody about your boundaries yet, you're going to feel empowered. You're going to be like, yeah, my feelings matter. Step number 3, consequences. On that list that you wrote everything that you want and don't want, you're going to focus on all the things that you want. So for example, from other people, you want honesty, you want respect, you want to be treated kindly. Now, the consequences part is difficult if you have never practiced boundaries. That's why you need to do the first 2 steps before even getting here. What are the consequences when people disrespect what you need? Here are some examples of some unhealthy consequences. When they don't respect your boundaries, you yell and scream. When they disrespect your boundaries, you abandon them by suddenly walking away without telling them why or for how long. Or when they disrespect your boundaries, you're so upset that you ghost them forever, never tell them why, but always feel guilty about it. Here are some examples of healthy consequences. They disrespect your boundaries and you get triggered. You tell them that you need to walk away for a certain amount of time. Now, everybody has a different amount of time. Do you need a couple of hours? Do you need a day? Don't give it a few days because that's another level of abandoning. Don't just walk away staying angry. When you're alone, you could do some journaling, process how you feel, do the self-validation, and then you could come back to them and express what you need and why you need it. Another healthy consequence is, let's say your kid drops food all over the floor. You don't yell and scream, you just go grab a towel and you give it to them. Consequences, they have to clean up the mess they made. The important part about this is boundaries are not what you don't need. You need to find out what you don't need in order to know what you need. And when you set boundaries with people, or I like to call them agreements because it's a softer word, you can communicate with the person what you need. If your partner, for example, is really bugging you about something and you keep nagging them that you don't like what they're doing, you're not telling them what you like. And every single one of us has different wants and needs, has different values. There are consequences when you don't show up to work. First, you get a warning, and then you may not get paid, and then you may even get fired. Just natural consequences that happen in life. So you can have natural consequences with your family members and the people you care about. And if your boundaries and your consequences conflict with the people that are closest to you, you can now compromise because their feelings matter and your feelings matter. Boundaries are never meant to control other people. They're just meant to express our wants and needs. So compromising is the best way to have healthy relationships. And if other people cannot compromise, then maybe they're not meant to be in your life. And then you could lovingly let them go instead of just cutting them off without telling them. Remember, you matter. Your feelings matter.